In session, these are the House cameras.
Resolution providing for consideration of the bill H.R. 4768 to amend Title V United States Code with respect to the judicial review of agency interpretations of statutory and regulatory provisions, providing for proceedings during the period from June 23, 2016 through July 4, 2016, and providing for consideration of motions to suspend the rules. Report to accompany House Resolution 797, resolution providing for consideration of the conference report to accompany the bill H.R. 2577, making appropriations for the Departments of Transportation and Housing and Urban Development and related agencies for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2016, and for other purposes, providing for the proceedings during the period from June 23rd, 2016 through July 4th, 2016, and providing for consideration of motions to suspend the rules.
Refer to the House calendar. Ordered printed. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Sessions, seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion at the desk.
Clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Sessions of Texas moves that when the House adjourns on the legislative day of Wednesday, June 22nd, 2016, it adjourned to meet at 2:30 a.m. on Thursday, June 23rd, 2016.
Mr. Sessions moves that when the House adjourns on the legislative day, the motion is not debatable. The question is on the motion offered by the gentleman from Texas. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
I ask for the yeas and nays. I ask for a recorded vote.
Gentleman asked for a recorded vote. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. Sufficient number having arisen. A recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.
All right, we are still on the air here at C-SPAN. The House is officially in session right now. They're voting on changing the end time for the House, coming back at 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time for a new legislative day. We're going to put the phone numbers up. You've been watching with us all night for the most part, and we want to get your reaction to what's been happening. 202 is the area code, 748-8921 for Republicans, 748-8920 for Democrats, and 748-8922 for independents. Now, a lot of questions and a lot of comments have been asked about the cameras. Who controls the cameras? Who doesn't? What are we showing you, et cetera, et cetera. What we've been showing, what we're showing you right now, this is the official House feed. C-SPAN does not have those cameras. We do not own those cameras. We do not control them. The House of Representatives controls those cameras. When the Democrats, when you were seeing the Democrats meet over on the side, those were social media feeds by members of Congress, either via Facebook, via Periscope, and they were feeding those out, and we were just taking those and putting those on the air since the official House was in recess, and therefore the cameras were shut off. Now, the Radio Television Correspondents Association penned this letter, and they wrote to the Speaker to see if they could get the House to turn on the cameras while the Democrats were doing their sit-in, or while the Democrats are doing their sit-in, and they were denied. And I just want to read portions of this letter. Hopefully it'll clarify some of the rules. The Congressional Radio and Television Gallery's Executive Committee of Correspondence appealed to the Speaker's office to open up camera access of the sit-in demonstration on the floor of the House of Representatives today. That request was not granted. The Speaker's office says it will follow precedent created by House rules since 1979 to prohibit video cameras, and further advises that the Sergeant-at-Arms office is policing the situation now to stop members of Congress from breaking House rules. According to House rules, broadcasting of the House is at the discretion of what the Speaker considers appropriate and is then distributed to our members. According to House rules, the Speaker shall administer, direct, and control a system for complete and unedited audio and visual broadcasting and recording of the floor proceedings of the House. Unless explicitly approved by the Speaker, chamber video cameras are controlled by the House Recording Studio. Contrary to popular belief, these are not C-SPAN's cameras. C-SPAN merely broadcasts a video feed provided by the House Recording Studio. Regardless of their intentions, members who are live streaming video from the floor are breaking the rules. As technology has advanced in recent years, lawmakers have repeatedly broken House rules, creating a wild double standard for broadcast journalists compared to members of Congress, especially in regard to the ramifications for breaking those rules. Members of the Radio Television Correspondents Association are at risk of having their credential revoked by the Speaker's office if they break House rules, whereas there is no apparent consequence for members of Congress who break the rules. And that was written by some of the media that represents the correspondents who work up on Capitol Hill. So hopefully that clarified the situation a little bit and didn't muddy it too much. But if you've been watching with us all day, Democratic House sit-in, we want to get your views on what's going on. And this is Lonnie in Cleveland, Tennessee, calling in. Lonnie, you're on C-SPAN. Please go ahead. And we will try Paul in Greenfield, Indiana, Republican line. Paul, you with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you. I've been with you a couple hours.
Yes, you have. You've been very patient. Thank you so much. Go ahead and make your comment.
Well, you know, I think this was nothing but a big show because of they had the chance to vote on 4 different amendments the other day, and 2 of them Republicans, and it was almost the same as Democrats. And so all they did when they got up there, they let us know how long they'd been there, and then they let us know that to vote for them too. The one man says, "Don't forget to vote for us." And another thing, President Obama, I blame him for everything because he's let as much as almost 5,000 of them in since November. I've been listening to that, watching that very close. I watch this very close every day, and they've had their chance to speak.
All right. Thank you, Paul in Greenfield, Indiana. On the upper right of your screen, that is the official House feed that you're seeing. Those are the House cameras, and they're voting on changing the in time for the House, have it come back at 2:30 a.m. And down lower left, that is one of the social media feeds by a member of Congress, a Democratic member of Congress, on the floor that we're seeing there. Kathy is in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, Democrats line. Kathy, you're on C-SPAN.
Hi, I would like to congratulate the Democrat senators and congressmen for what they are doing. You know, the Second Amendment was written back in the 1700s, and back then we only had muskets, not the kind of weapons that we have today. So that's when the Second Amendment was written. Do I condemn people for having guns? No. Do people need assault weapons? No. The only ones that need those are the people out fighting the wars.
And next up is Ed, and Ed is in Middlebourne, West Virginia, Independent line. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning to you.
How long have you been watching today?
Oh, I've been watching off and on different with the different networks that've been reporting, but I just don't see where everyone seems to have to take a step back. That if the FBI was not tied to a political correctness and to the things that would have went on that may have put some of these terrorists onto, being arrested, that maybe this guy, he being investigated 2 or 3 times, he may have, never have been walking the street. And if the Democratic Party had not been so much into feeding and changing the books and the operations of our CIA, NSA, and the political correctness that needed to be, and the one guy just knows how to play off and say, well, you got a Islamophobia or whatever it is that you have, and they step back and go, oh well, we don't want to go there, and of course they're reading it too, because Obama has had these Muslim Brotherhood that's been in the White House so many times that the rhetoric that does come with being an investigator seems to be taken away from the FBI people.
That's Ed in Middleburn, West Virginia. By the way, there are currently 247 Republicans in the House, 188 Democrats. There is not only the protests going on the floor, but outside. A lot of people have come to the outside of the Capitol. Here are some photos that were posted by Alec Howard on Digifile. This is outside the U.S. Capitol tonight. People coming in support of the Democrats and their sit-in. Jonathan is calling in from Leesburg, Virginia, here in the suburbs on our Republican line. Jonathan, you're on C-SPAN.
Hello. I think some of the callers are getting a little off topic. I feel that we can't really just blame the Second Amendment. Like, I was a Marine, and I personally feel like weapons, like the firearms, it all depends on the user. And yes, some people might have those fears of high-capacity magazines and stuff like that. But at the same time, the person is the one that can cause harm. If there's no firearm, that they're going to try to do a different type of attack. So if someone wants to hurt someone, they're going to try to do it regardless of what they have as a tool. And at the same time, I also respect what the Democrats did today. It's fine, like, do what you got to do to get your point across. But I also feel that we are getting a little off topic and probably just need to narrow our focus more on how to do it together instead of just acting like high school. I don't know. It's a little embarrassing. Thank you.
Up next is Ralph calling in from New Orleans, Democrat. Ralph, what do you think about the sit-in today?
Well, good morning here from the Big Easy. It's been a tragic day here. We've had an officer in the suburban parish of New Orleans murdered by 3 bullets by a suspect that was officer pulled over to speak with, and so it's a sad day here. It's also a little bit sad to watch the divide going on here. Luckily, most of the children are sleeping tonight and won't see this on television. But the real issue would be on gun control is to make very harsh laws on people that are found to be illegally carrying a weapon and to punish them first out. But the both sides of the aisle don't want that because that takes away from the spotlight of them. I'd also say that the toy guns and the video games need to be addressed. There should be no make or model of a toy gun that looks anything replicated. If you go back to the young fellow up in the Cleveland, Ohio area, I believe, who was killed with a toy gun. But those are the mainstream ideas that common people think about, but the elected officials probably don't want to draw attention to because it takes the light off of them. Until we start really thinking about that and making accountability and addressing the simple phrase of follow the rules to all of their constituents, whether young or old, white, black, blue, or green, we will always have a divide. And unfortunately, in an election year, it seems like the divide is trying to be made to the greatest degree. So hopefully people will go to bed and wake up and continue on and not have to deal with these antics that are going on in the House. Thank you for C-SPAN's coverage, and we'll continue to watch.
Nathan in Camp Verde, Arizona, Independent Line. Good morning to you, Nathan.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
How are you?
Doing well. I just wanted to say that, the Second Amendment is part of the Bill of Rights. These are natural laws given to the citizens of our country. And to infringe upon that right is to infringe on our natural rights. I believe that we need to get back to the Constitution and not infringe upon any of the rights that are given to us naturally. That's all I really have to say about that.
Nathan, are you a gun owner?
I am.
Multiple or just one?
I'm sorry?
Multiple guns or just one?
Oh, I think I have 3. I have 2 rifles and 1 pistol.
What do you use them for?
I use them for hunting, and we go out and I take my son out and we shoot them. Occasionally we just shoot targets.
So when you've seen the Democrats, and they've been on the floor now for 10, 12, 13 hours, almost 14 hours, they have had this sit-in. What's your reaction to some of the things they've been saying?
Well, my reaction is that I understand the frustration with the high-powered rifles, so to speak, but the reality of it is the Second Amendment was designed for the people to prevent a tyrannical government, and for no other purpose. Obviously we use these guns to hunt, etc. and so forth, but that's what the Second Amendment was for. John Locke was one of our founders, and he was very clear on the Second Amendment and all of our other constitutional rights in the Bill of Rights, as far as stating that we have unalienable rights as far as citizens of this country, and the Second Amendment is one of those rights.
That's Nathan in Arizona.
And it shall not be infringed.
That's Nathan in Arizona. Thank you, sir. And Mike in Massapequa, New York, Republican Line. Mike, you're on C-SPAN.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I think the Democrats look like petulant little babies tonight. I think that, quite frankly, they're using an Alinsky tactic, not letting a tragedy go to waste. I think the way they're going about this is an embarrassment to their party, and I think this will only help actually Donald Trump in the future, because people are looking for a leader. This is an embarrassment.
Next up is Kevin in Houston on our Democrats line, and at any point now we might have to go right back to the House, so go ahead and speak quickly, Kevin.
Good morning. Hey, I just want to comment on that gentleman's what he just said. So ask him, if one of his kids get shot with a assault rifle or a gun, would he like that? These people are doing something for the people, of the people. And all they doing is trying to get their voices heard, like they say. They just want a vote. They trying to run out of there like cowards. They cut off microphones. They cut off cameras. This is the House. The House of Representatives is people who voted them in office. So what they should do right now, since they want to act like this, every last one of them, cut off the whole House of Representatives. Let it be the people vote on the bills and rights of there. Let's not have a Congress anymore, because now one of them are trying to work together whatsoever.
All right, that's Kevin in Houston. The House looks like they're about to end this vote. Let's go watch.
This vote, the ayes are 234, the nays are 166. The motion is adopted. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move the House do now adjourn.
Question is on the motion offered by the gentleman from Texas. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Pleading the chair, the ayes have it. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
I ask for a recorded vote.
Recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. Sufficient number having arisen. Recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 15-minute vote.
And since the Republicans have the majority and they ask for this motion to adjourn, chances are it will pass and they will adjourn to come back at 2:30 a.m., which is a little over an hour from now. Well, for the last 14 hours or so, the House Democrats have been in a sit-in protest. We've been carrying video from social media that they've been shooting themselves all day long on C-SPAN. As the House cameras, when the House is in recess, the cameras go off, and C-SPAN does not control those cameras. So if you've been with us watching for a while, all day, or still watching, and want to make a comment about the Democratic protest or the issues that they're talking about, we'd like to hear from you. Megan in Van Nuys, California, Democrats line. Megan, you're on C-SPAN.
Hi. Well, first, I just wanted to say that the guy who blamed Obama should probably understand the structure of the government before he criticizes it. The Senate voted on the bills, not the House of Representatives. And to the guy who said that John Locke was the founder of America, that's not correct. He was an English philosopher whose ideas are reflected in the Declaration of Independence. As for my personal opinion, I've never been more impressed by the Democrats in the House, and I think that this is the type of civil disobedience we need to make changes that are overdue in America. I also think that Paul Ryan should be ashamed of himself, and anyone who is still opposed to tighter restrictions for gun control, well, they're to blame for the next mass shooting. And that's all.
Up next is Damon calling in from Frostproof, Florida, Republican line. Damon, please go ahead with your comment.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I hate to hash over points that have already been made, so I'll try not to, but I don't understand what the outcome the Democrats are looking for this. If they want to vote, where is the legislation that they want to vote on? There were four proposals brought forth this week. If those aren't good enough to suffice for a vote on, someone needs to set forward with legislation that can be voted on, and I have not heard any of that tonight. I've been listening for a few hours, several hours actually, off and on, but sitting without public being able to watch, other than being a violation of the rules, we would not have an idea of what's going on. It needs to go on during the actual debate based on an actual vote. There are so many things when people talk about the terror watch list. I've been researching it online tonight. There are hundreds of lists that involve terrorists. What list are they talking about? I've seen a young 4-year-old boy that is on a no-fly list. What good does that do? He's not supposed to be on there, so who's to say you're not going to be put on these lists inadvertently for the wrong reasons? There has to be legislation. This is what we're going to deny you for, to buy a gun. This is what you can do if you are told that you cannot. And this is what you can do if you need to appeal it any further.
So, Damon, all that said, do you think there should be restrictions on gun purchases?
Very much so. And I'm a gun owner myself and have been since I was 8 years old.
Thank you,
sir. But there needs to be precise language, not vague, not just because you're on one list you cannot purchase X.
Thank you, sir. Janice from Weetog, Connecticut. Janice, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm just calling because I just wanted to voice my appreciation with the Connecticut representatives and senators the other day, and I think they're really listening to the people of the state, and that's everyone else has said what I'm thinking.
So, were you watching Senator Murphy on Monday in the Senate? And
Yes,
some of his filibuster?
Actually, it's my week on vacation, so I got to see that. And I would like to quote him where this is one step. The fight is far from over, but there are millions of voices calling for change, and we cannot stop fighting.
That's Janice in Connecticut. And up next is Michael. Michael, where's your home? Where are you calling from?
From Powell, Wyoming.
Powell, Wyoming. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yes. Yes, I support the Democrats, but I think I agree with the guy from Florida. There needs to be reasonable, what's what I'm looking for? Reasonable restrictions, and that it has to be very direct and in language that everyone can understand, and so there are no loopholes. You should be able to appeal it, but also I am really getting really sick and tired of all the banter between Democrats and Republicans in the House, in the Senate, in this nation. If you don't like the way, I think things are not going to change unless we start voting more independently, because we're doing the same things and expecting different results. We need to do different things to expect different results. If we keep voting Democrat and Republican, this country is going to fall apart by the seams eventually, and it's already starting to. And I mean, I have my wife. Her uncle was shot down in California 20-some years ago, and I do think there does need to be more gun control, but it needs to be reasonable and it needs to be straightforward.
Thank you, sir, for calling in. Craig Kaplan is our Capitol Hill producer, and he is still up there tonight because of what's going on in the House. This is what he reports is going to happen next. Next, the House will convene a new legislative day. This should happen at approximately 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Upon convening, the House will move into debate on the rule providing for consideration of the conference report for military construction, Veterans Affairs, and related agencies, and that includes Zika appropriations as well that Leader Pelosi referred to earlier when she was speaking to the Democrats. Next call is Sal in Claremont, Florida, on our Republican line. Sal, please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking my call. Question. I'm watching this debate go back and forth here, but there are a lot of questions that need to be brought up before a bill like this can pass. I know what the Democrats are trying to do, but unfortunately the Second Amendment stands. And when things are hot and heavy with the way things have happened, especially with the Orlando shooting, I don't understand how a no-fly, no-buy bill is going to prevent this when this guy was interviewed multiple times by the FBI. He was never on a terrorist list. There are thousands of people on a no-fly list right now. You have journalists, you have children, you have people that don't even know they're on a fly list. And how do you get put on a fly list without any due process? Where's the government, and who makes the decision to put you on a fly list, on a no-fly list? That's my question. You won't find out until you're ready to board a plane. And where is this no-fly list put together? By who? This is my question. There's a 12-year-old boy, a Boy Scout, from what I understand. His parents are trying to get him off a no-fly list.
All right, Sal in Florida, thank you for your comments tonight. Let's hear from Maddie in Los Angeles, Democrat.
Hi, it's just really astounding to me that we can't even have a vote on this issue. I mean, it seems so common sense. Every time I talk about it with my friends or with my colleagues, it seems so obvious that we would forbid people who can't get on airplanes from being able to buy guns. I'm a student at UCLA. We were a victim of a gun crime a couple of weeks ago, and it was terrifying. And, the fact that we aren't able in this country to have a real common sense debate about this issue is really upsetting. And I think that it really just indicates the fact that our representatives in Washington just really aren't interested in representing us and defending us from crime and from other instances of, violence. I think that this is such an issue that Americans, 80%, 90% of Americans really agree on, and our representatives just won't do anything. And I think the fact that House Republicans won't hold a vote is just really indicative of that. And it really is just upsetting. I've been watching this for over 12 hours now. I've been watching it all day at work, and I hope that Speaker Ryan will eventually come to the conclusion that Americans have a right to know about what their representatives think on this issue. And, I'm hopeful, but, reluctantly so.
Maddie, can you tell us what happened a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago at UCLA, there was a graduate student who came to campus, the Engineering 4 building, and
where were you that day?
Professor.
Where were you?
I was in my apartment with my roommate, and we saw it on the news like everybody else. And it was terrifying because there were all sorts of rumors going around, and everyone was really worried because, there's such a history of these things happening at college campuses. And at the beginning, it's always very unclear about exactly the extent of the damage. We were, it was tragic that the professor who was really beloved here was killed, but we were lucky that it wasn't, a worse event.
That's Maddie in L.A., and this is Ashley in Philadelphia, Independent Line.
Sure. So this is actually the first time that I feel like I've actually felt proud to call myself a Democrat. And it's actually really sad that it's taking this long. But I kind of sort of feel like what they're trying to pass right now is just such like a nonsensical kind of gun legislation. Like, it just makes no sense that someone can board a plane and, like, someone can board a plane, but they can purchase an assault weapon that can kill, like, hundreds of people or, like, could perpetuate, like, a crime like what happened in Orlando. It just seems like, I don't know, I kind of had a little hope compared to how I felt a few years ago, and I'm just very hopeful just based on what's happening right now.
How long have you been watching the Democratic sit-in today?
I've been watching for the past several hours after I got off of work. I watched Filibuster the other day, though, and I thought that what they were talking about then made a lot of sense to me. Just, like, not even, like, as, like, a partisan issue, just, like, as a human being. I just felt like it made sense. I don't know, does that make sense? Like, I'm 26 years old. This is, like, my second time voting in an election, and, like, I am a Sanders supporter still. But, like, aside from that, though, completely, like, I just feel like it makes no sense that, like, guns like this can be purchased that can create this much harm. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Ashley, have you ever considered buying a gun?
Yeah, honestly, I'm actually pro-gun. I'm just not pro-assault weapon, which can kill hundreds of people. Like I completely, that's why I consider myself a moderate. Honestly, like, I wouldn't mind having a gun. To be completely honest with you, I just feel like there's no reason that people should be able to own these guns that can kill all these people. I just don't see any, like, rhyme or reason why that should be a thing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Does that make sense? Okay.
David is calling in from Honolulu tonight, Republican line. David, go ahead. We're listening.
Oh. Hey, how's it going?
What's your comment tonight, David?
My comment is what are these Democrats doing? I mean, honestly, why are they trying to stop or trying to create more legislation for gun control? We have the National Firearms Act, and we also have assault weapons ban. It doesn't matter how many laws we pass, criminals do not obey the law. And quite frankly, for the representatives of Hawaii to sit in, I am deeply ashamed of them.
What's the process, David, for getting a gun in Hawaii? Is it difficult?
It is incredibly difficult. And one thing about Hawaii is they believe that, we're safe over here, but what we're seeing now is a spike in crime. And we're also seeing a spike in gun violence as well, although we have some of the strongest regulations in the country. Now, originally, I'm from North Carolina, where you can actually buy a shotgun and a rifle at, let's say, Walmart or a gun show, and we don't have that, and they didn't have that much crime. But for some reason, these Democrats believe that if they pass more laws and they create more legislative for any kind of gun control, the crime's going to go away. We need to address the real issue. It is Islamic terrorism. It is this liberal ideology that we can't offend anyway. Political correctness, that is what is getting people killed here. And I'm sick of it. What more do we need to do? I don't understand it.
The House is currently in official session. This is a motion to adjourn that potentially they will be back in an hour. They created a new legislative day beginning at 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time. As you can see, this motion to adjourn has passed and will pass. Chances are they will go out of session at that point. Now, the Democrats have vowed to continue their protest. You can see them on the left-hand side of the screen there. That's the where we've been watching. And here's the House.
The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 2:30 a.m. today.